I recently accidentally walked into a battlefield. Jets flying up above, people running everywhere, guns blazing, bombs exploding, tanks firing missiles at each other. I'm pretty sure I even saw Superman fly down at one point. It was a wild scene. Once I escaped, I ran into people and told them what was going on. Like World War III was happening, and they just shrugged it off. Apparently, all I saw was just a conversation among the baseball community about Trevor Bauer. For many years now, there's been a pretty split reputation among Trevor Bauer from the fans. Like I'm talking, this goes back to 2016 basically. But of course, this debate took a more serious and intense turn in 2021. And for the last 3 years, the conversation has been between people who think Trevor Bauer is violent toward women and deserves to be banned from baseball, and the people who think Trevor Bauer is not violent toward women. He's been unfairly treated by the league, and he should be able to play. And for the record, the entire time I've been covering and talking about this over the last 3 years about Trevor Bauer, the most controversial player in baseball, and his whole situation, I've set out to be as fair as possible, without any agenda or goal in mind to support one side or the other, because that's what you deserve, the truth. Sometimes we like the truth, other times we don't, but either way, it's what matters most, especially in serious cases like these. And so over these last few years, with all the stuff that's come out with the accusations, the court cases, the text messages, the videos released, I've done my best to see what's really going on. A lot of people may say I'm pro Bauer or something like that, and in reality, I just say it how I see things. And when I see text messages of Lindsay Hill, the original accuser of Bauer, basically planning that she was going to extort money from him, in a video of her in bed the morning after the alleged incident where she looks great, unharmed, and comfortable next to a sleeping Bauer, I don't know how anyone sees that and doesn't at least feel like there's some sort of motive at play here by Lindsay Hill. To me, that's not pro Bauer. That's just seeing stuff for what it is. But I also don't ignore the other women who've accused Trevor Bauer of some sort of abuse, physical or verbal, threatening texts or whatever. One of those women actually reaching out to me. And these are also women who stayed anonymous, so unlike Hill, there was no attention seeking whatsoever. Apparently, all the people legally involved have tapes in which he films himself quote unquote abusing a woman. That's something else Lindsay Hill has put out there more recently that the public didn't have much knowledge of before. What exactly do those tapes consist of? What exactly is happening in them? I don't know. But again, all I and any of us can do is go off of what's known and what's out there. It's all about balance and not taking extremes. Everyone seems to feel the need to pick a side fully and be all pro Trevor Bauer, he's 100% innocent, or screw Trevor Bauer, he should rot in prison forever, when the best thing to do is just be moderate in finding out the reality of the situation. Like, if America was at war with Russia or something, and a ton of innocent people were dying on both sides, my first thoughts wouldn't be hoping America wins the war. No, it'd be for innocent people to stop dying, which is a pretty clearly normal way of looking at it. But people like to get way too emotional, and in situations like Bauer's, too much emotion gets involved, and that's where terms like believe all women come up, which obviously make zero sense, and anyone in their right mind thinking clearly would understand that. And they would also understand that not just blindly believing all women doesn't mean blindly believing all men, which is where we get back to the whole taking extreme sides thing. There are actual numbskull dunderheads out there, you didn't expect to hear those words today, did you, who will say I'm misogynistic or sexist or whatever buzzword they were programmed to repeat because I'm against the term believe all women. Whatever happened to just, innocent till proven guilty, looking into the situation and then believing the truth? The truth doesn't have a gender, men, women, whatever, who cares? Yes, most of those idiots are people who basically live on Twitter and do nothing else with their lives, but it's just beyond insane how hollow some of these people's minds are. It's obviously not smart to believe somebody just because of their gender, whether they're a woman or a man. That's a pretty obvious thing to me. Almost as obvious as Tyler Perry being an American icon and Temple of Doom being the best of the Indiana Jones franchise. Like, yeah, no shit. If a man actually does assault a woman and does something to her that she never consented to, in my opinion, he deserves to be castrated. That's not a man, nor is it someone who can be trusted in society. And on the flip side, if a woman is proven to be lying about an accusation regarding a man, she deserves just as harsh of a punishment, because that woman is way too dangerous to just be able to go through life normally and trusted. So are there some damning things about Trevor Bauer out there? Yeah, there are. Just like there are damning things against the most outspoken accuser of his, someone who, like I mentioned before, had text showing that she was planning to extort him, text between her and Bauer of her consenting to what they did. She's also clearly not a mentally stable person, and I mean, hey, aren't we all mentally unstable? I'm always hearing voices ready to murder my family at the Stanley Hotel during the peak of winter in Colorado. If you get the reference, you're goated, but no, she actually seems psychotic. So over the years, some of my videos may have seemed more in favor of Bauer, just like some of the other ones may have seemed more in favor of Lindsay Hill. In fact, one of the accusers who reached out to me a few years ago did so because she felt I was covering the situation very fairly and not just blindly supporting Bauer. She's a friend of Lindsay's. My main stance on the entire thing, as it always has been, is that I'm not a massive fan putting on my cheerleader outfit, doing crazy tricks, throwing up pom-poms for either Trevor Bauer or Lindsay Hill, and I would say that to both of their faces. Not in a disrespectful way, but just to be completely honest, like I intend to be with everybody because I like transparency and not being fake. Neither do I care about pleasing everybody. I think Trevor Bauer clearly at least had some behavior issues, more so than others, that even included on the field stuff. I mean, the dude literally cut his finger playing around with a drone before a playoff game, and it ended up hurting his team in the game. And a few years after that, he notoriously disrespected his manager, Terry Francona, one of the most respected and lovable guys in baseball history. I hated that. That was awful. So you have those things, along with the beef he had with other players, some apparently in his own locker room at times throughout his life, and then of course the off-the-field stuff. I'm also not a fan of his quote-unquote agent, Rachel Luba, who champions herself as a role model for young girls and for women, when in reality, the only true client she has is someone who she's taking pictures like this with. Do I know that they've ever done anything? No, but I think it's important to be honest with yourself and not deem yourself a champion for women. I mean, last I checked, Scott Boras isn't taking pictures like this with his clients. And before the Twitter White Knight Warriors come out accusing me of whatever, oh, you don't like women in baseball. Well, if you ever take your head out of your own ass for 2 seconds, you'd know I've always been a big supporter of Kim Ng, the former Marlins general manager, always admiring how hard she worked to get to where she did, and I hope she gets a job again soon. She is an actual example of a role model for young girls and women. Rachel Luba is not. Just because I criticize a woman doesn't mean I hate all women. I criticize men like all of the time, so by that logic, do I hate all men? I hate all of mankind? Damn, so I'm either the biggest sexist ever or the biggest voice of equality because I hate everyone equally. Do you see how dumb this is? And just because I criticize Bauer and Luba doesn't mean I also don't think Lindsay Hill is a little crazy. I'm not team Lindsay Hill. She gives off a very attention-seeking vibe that I'm sure other women would hate, let alone the men who would be afraid she would accuse them of something. So I think this was a very classic case of two very problematic people getting in bed with each other, literally, and chaos ensued. And so over the 3 years after Bauer was put on administrative leave by the Dodgers, eventually handed the biggest suspension in Major League Baseball history before getting that reduced, playing in Japan, playing in the Mexican League, and still to this day not having any interest from Major League teams, it's becoming more and more clear that we won't ever see Trevor Bauer pitch in the big leagues again. Is that right? Well, I don't know. I really don't know if that's for me to decide. What I do know is that life, of course, is not fair, like at all. Pete Rose literally had a relationship with a 14-year-old girl back in the 70s that he eventually did adult things with when she turned 16. He was able to play his whole career without any issue. He never got in trouble for that. And his larger controversy has nothing to do with that. It's about the whole gambling thing. But it's been proven, and something that Rose himself has even admitted, that he was having a relationship with a minor, a literal child, and he did not get the treatment Trevor Bauer is getting right now. Karl Malone literally got a 13-year-old pregnant when he was 20 back in 1983, and not only played his whole career without issue, but is still getting honored to this day. Those are just two examples of things like that. And then, of course, all the athletes who have been violent with women and children and were able to come back after a swift little suspension. Now, do the actions by other individuals make Trevor Bauer 100% innocent? Of course not. But I think it's the whole idea that we don't even fully know if he did anything illegal at all. He never got charged or arrested for anything, let alone if we know that he did something bad enough to be out of baseball forever. It's pretty obvious that teams just don't want to deal at all with any sort of backlash or any sort of negative attention that would inevitably come with signing Trevor Bauer. It has nothing to do with the money. He stated so many times that he would play for the league minimum. Dude would play for free at this point. He just wants to play. And I'm sure there are also so many other players throughout the league that believe he should be allowed to play and would even want to be teammates with him. But I think these teams have just weighed the positives and negatives and have all decided that even if it helped their team on the field, it's not worth bringing Bauer in. And if all 30 organizations feel that way, you can of course speculate that there was some sort of unofficial, unrecorded agreement among the owners in Major League Baseball that nobody would sign him, like he's blackballed from the league, like Barry Bonds. I don't know if that's true, but it does seem a little interesting that there really hasn't been any sort of interest at all from any single team for Bauer. So as the MLB trade deadline has come and gone, a number of people are going to say that their team should have just signed Trevor Bauer rather than trying to trade for some starting pitcher. I mean, in theory, the Astros would have been way better off doing that than what they really did, which was getting Yusei Kikuchi, a rental who isn't even that good, for 3 prospects. Instead of Astros general manager Dana Brown forgetting that Vladdy Jr. wasn't included in the deal, they could have kept those prospects and got Bauer. That's a point a lot of people will make. Should that be the case? Again, I don't know. As far as what we do know and have right in front of us right now, it doesn't seem like Bauer is worthy of being banned from the league for life like he basically is now. But I also don't have the knowledge that Major League Baseball has. I don't have any other videos or things that the public doesn't know. So I'm not going to jump on a bandwagon and pick an extreme side, the side of Bauer being 100% innocent or 100% guilty. But I also wish we as the public had a little more transparency about the situation when there are clear examples of other athletes throughout history who very obviously deserve to not just be banned from the league that they played in, but thrown behind bars, yet they got off seemingly scot-free. Trevor Bauer's situation, as problematic as he's been in the past, isn't that clear, and that's what bothers me. But either way, whatever the case is, it's becoming more and more clear every day that Bauer's days in Major League Baseball are done. And I'll end things with this. If you're a young man or any sort of man watching this, be careful who you get intimate with. Do everything you can to confirm consent and get proof. No means no. And if you're a young woman or any sort of woman watching this, I don't have to tell you this, but seriously be careful because there are crazy dudes out there, just like there are good dudes. Either way, and whatever situation you're in, whatever scenario, tell the truth. That's something everyone needs to do. It's a crazy world out there. Let me know your thoughts and thank you for watching.